The men in this culture, the leaders in this culture, have got to stand up, put a foot down, and say no. No more.
Who wants to be king?
Lately, I've been sitting back watching the Victim Olympics unfolding, and there's been so many topics, there's been so many things that you can speak on. It almost gets discombobulating trying to pick a topic to touch on. Everything in our society is inside out and upside down. I understand on a certain level why people are hesitant to speak up and stand up for what they believe in. But at some point, a man has got to be a man. You've got to shake off anything that you fear, anything that's the unknown, and you've got to stand. You got to stand too. What I want to talk about in this video is the lack of the voice coming from the Christian community. We hear all the transformers making noise. We hear the victims from each ist and ism class making noise. And all of these factions of our society are resorting to the threat of violence to get their way. Now, I believe that everybody in this country has the right to be afforded the basic civil liberties, the basic rights that we all share. But I would postulate that there's nothing that anybody can do in any class that anyone else from a lower class or a different class has the inability to do. The problem is in this country, it's not about putting any work forth. It's about being a victim. It's about claiming your intersectional victim status and standing on that tiny anthill believing that you're on Mount Everest. Today, the focus that I want to put the emphasis on is the situation that Deion Sanders is facing in Colorado. Now, it's not the woke idiocracy that comes from the black nationalists, the victims who want to keep this man in a historically black college for all the reasons that they cite. In my opinion, any coach who enters the coaching sphere, any athlete who enters the coaching sphere, it's not about political leaning, it's not about cultural, any of that. You enter into that space to find yourself in the most competitive domain there. The historically black colleges, those aren't the most competitive colleges. I would argue that you could take the best college from that bracket, from that division, and put it up against a low-ranking Division I college in a football game, basketball game, any sporting activity. The D1 school is going to smoke the best in that division. So it's not about color or any of that. It's about the level of athlete. It's about the level of competition. And what Deion Sanders did, in my opinion, was what any man would do. And you would think that the black community that is crying about victimhood and all of this bullshit would be stoked that this black man was hired at a historically white college. So I think that buffoonery there is just asinine. It's just like everybody else who's crying and whining and wanting people to feel sorry for them or wanting people to join their side in this fight against the man. What this video is about is the recent attack by this atheist group, this group that is freedom from religion. Because Deion Sanders is firm in his faith, because he prays and he prays before meetings, prays after games, because he stands on his faith and tries to lead these athletes that way. This group of losers wants to attack his approach to being a man, being a coach, and wants him to abolish that. Now, the fact that these people are so confident and cocky to do that is a problem, because America, you have freedom of religion. And if you choose to be free from religion, then you also have the ability to do that. But in this weird weakness, victim, pussified culture that we have, we are given the microphone to the weakest, most helpless people in our society. We're allowing people with fragmented views of the world, with these sick ideologies, to force their ideology upon all of us. And the fact that these atheists find problem with prayer, in my opinion, that's fine. But you don't get to impose your belief system and take that from the ones who do. These athletes who kneel and pray, they're not forced to do that. And if these men are taking a knee and they don't want to, then they're cowards. If these men are from a different religion and they don't take the opportunity to say a prayer to whoever they pray to, then they're victims and they're cowards. It's very simple. If you don't like something, if you have a problem with something, you just simply don't consume it. Don't partake. Don't go to that place. Don't do the thing. But now what we got is tyrants running the system, and everybody who has a triggered feeling feels like it is their right, it is their duty, and it is our obligation to agree with them, to change the way that we live our lives and the way that we see the world to fit their delusion, their degeneracy. Right now, it's, from what I read, Deion has been retrained. The Equity Center from Colorado has taken him into the gulag and retrained him, reschooled him. They've tried to show him how his belief in leaning upon Christ is wrong. And from what I read, he is considering that maybe he shouldn't do that. Far too many times in this culture, we give way to tyrants, to losers, to people who want to force us to see the world and act the way that they want us to act so they can control who and what we are, what we believe. We can't do that anymore. We've given a little bit more, and now they're trying to attack our children at the very most impressionable age and indoctrinate them with the sickness. And if the men in this culture, if the leaders in this culture, if they don't stand up, put a foot down and tell these whiny, sissy crybabies, no, shut up, we're not doing that, then I would dare say that you're not really a man who is willing and has a desire to move our culture to save our future for our children. The idea that you're here to help anyone, to me, is questionable. Because if you're not willing to stand, fight, and die on the hill of your faith, then you have no faith at all. It's just a cover story for the image that you wish to portray. In this instance, instead of bowing to the tyrants, instead of allowing himself to be re-educated, reprogrammed, and make him move in a way that the sinners, the people who believe in nothing, want him to, then Deion Sanders is a coward. A man, a leader, will tell the administration, no, you knew who I was when you hired me. Now you need to stand up for me against these crybabies and tell these people, if you don't believe in prayer, if you don't want to hear it, if you don't want to see it, don't come to the game. Don't tune in. Don't watch. Or simply put your face in your popcorn while these athletes are giving praise to their God. The men in this culture, the leaders in this culture, have got to stand up, put a foot down, and say no. No more. This is a line that should not be allowed to be crossed. This is a line that Deion Sanders should not allow them to erase from his life and the lives of his athletes. The degeneracy, the transformer propaganda, all of these are cult religions. So if you're going to propagate that, then that man has every right to give praise, thanks, and glory to his God. It's time to say no. It's time to put a stop to this insanity. Out.